I'm Steve Dangle, and you're listening to Stick to the Pod.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of Stick to the Pod. Yes, it's another week, another podcast, another weekend of NIHL North action completed. It's season 2, it's episode 9, and another great weekend of action in the bag, with a little controversy as well. So just as the system loads up and I get all my stats and information up and ready, again, I just want to say a big, massive thank you to everyone who drops me a message or comes to see me in person. It's much appreciated from fans, players of the likes. Again, thank you so much. It does mean the world. So again, if you do like to listen, please like, share, subscribe, give it ratings if you're on the podcast apps like Apple and Spotify and Amazon. So yeah, just a big thank you from me to you all for all your kind words over the past few weeks. It does make a difference, and it certainly puts a smile on my face. Anyway, enough of that. Let's get straight into the weekend's action, because there is enough to talk about in one game alone. So let's get straight into Saturday. Saturday's fixtures were the Sheffield Spinners and the Blackburn Hawks, the Hull Jets and the Billingham Stars, and the Whitley Warriors and the Deeside Dragons. We'll start straight away in Sheffield. As you'd expect, comfortable afternoon, evening's work for the Blackburn Hawks, taking down the Sheffield Spinners 12-2, outshooting the Skims 69-16, with Thacker and Fall on the score sheet for the Scimitars, and Crawley scoring a hat-trick, Barnes getting 2, Sporthith getting 2, Watson, Royds, Girinox and Riddock also on the score sheet. And then over to Hull, where the Hull Jets are on back-to-back home defeats. They've had a week off, and then they welcome the Billingham Stars. Billingham Stars missing Colin McNulty, who was with his parent club, who had a big game up north, and also without Sean Galloway Shuggy, who was serving his first game of a 2-match suspension. Hull also without talisman Vlad Volkanovs. Anyway, straight into the game. The first period started with a bang. Hull Jets 100 mile an hour straight at the Stars, put the Stars under pressure straight away, certainly for a good 3-4 minutes. Stars camped in their own defensive zone, but no real big shots on goal, nothing really testing netminder Hammond, who had a great game when called upon. I know the coaches and another podcast have said it was a dominant period from the Hull Jets. The Hull Jets actually only outshoot the Billingham Stars 10-8, I believe, in that first period. So it was a closer period than probably people might think. The Jets certainly had a lot more of the puck. They were pretty much the quicker team in the opening exchanges of the first period. But as that period ran to a close, I think Hull Jets got a penalty shot which Jacob Hammond saved from Richard Hagger. It was a good save on the penalty shot. As that period closed out at 0-0, you could only see the Stars getting more confident. Again, the second period starts, Hull with again straight on the front foot. As the period went on, it was the Stars defence kind of thought, well, we're doing all right. So the Stars forwards kind of started to up the ante a bit. They started to inject some pace into the game. There was some hits flying around, and that kind of got the Stars going, if I'm honest. A few biggish hits going in. Ian Brown getting a lot of attention, and as he should. The kid is flying at the moment. It wasn't until the 33-minute mark that Sykesy was on the back door and a great feed from Kyle Wilson to open the scoring. So that was 1-0 to the Billingham Stars. And in Stars fashion, it was 2-0 within a minute. Roland Gritton scoring a nice goal himself, getting us quickly onto the score sheet straight after Chris Sykes opened the scoring. And then not to be outdone, just as quickly as the Stars went 2-0 up, the Hull Jets get a massive triple deflection, double to triple deflection, and it's Nathan Parks-Britton getting the Jets on the score sheet. Although they got themselves on the score sheet, I wasn't too worried. I mean, at this point the Stars were dominating the play and actually outshoot the Jets this period 12-10. I think the Stars were a little bit more dominant than that, but hey ho. They certainly had a lot more puck possession, controlling the offensive zone very, very well, and just basically for large periods of time keeping the whole Jets packed in. So it was a 2-1 end of the second period. The score suggests all to play for, but a very dominant and very determined Ian Brown and Billingham Stars came out for the third period. from the first puck drop. They controlled the third period basically from the first puck drop right until the last. Ian Brown getting himself on the score sheet, scoring goals 16 and 17 already this season, and made it a 4-1 game. Chris Sykes also picking up a couple of points in the game with getting a goal and a couple of assists. Ian Brown getting a couple of goals and assists. So yeah, it was a fantastic performance. It was a top quality road performance. The Stars knew early on they'd have to defend and defend well. Made much more difficult in the first period when Stars lose Joe Dowdle, one of the Stars D-men. He goes down injured, but it didn't seem to affect them. The lads who double shifted when they needed to, stood up well, and the Stars played a great road game, defensively sound, fantastic effort, and obviously a lot of confidence going into the home game on a Sunday night. For the Hull Jets, much better performance from them from the last time the two teams met. They certainly look a more cohesive team without Vlad Volkanovs. I don't know, because he's obviously got that star factor that he's been and done it in the National League, that sometimes their build-up play and their work ethic kind of goes out the window when he's around, because they know they can just give him the puck and he'll go and score goals. But yeah, they certainly looked a lot more cohesive. Defensively, they probably relied a bit too much on Boris Gieber. Unfortunately for me, he's not all that. I do see him a bit of a weak link, especially when they've got great D-men. I like the young Felix Sorensen. He's very good. Obviously, you know what you get with Tom Braley, another fantastic D-man, and Enrique Taylor, another fantastic D-man. Obviously, losing Cohen to Seahawks early in just before the season starts, basically, was obviously a tough one to take. But yeah, I think Hull will be alright. I know they've lost a fair few games at home now, something that a lot of teams didn't expect, but it was a much, much better performance from them than it was in the previous game 3 weeks ago. So moving on to the final game on the Saturday, and that was the Whitley Warriors and the D-side Dragons. Had the hallmarks to be an absolute barn burner. I know I did say out there on social media I believe the Dragons would walk away with it. Although only a 2-goal game, I mean, I think at one point the Dragons were 4-1 up and they were never ever going to lose from that point. Very much a very good team who play a couple of D-men who can play forward. In Kennedy and Dickinson, so if they need to shut up shop, they can quite easily drop them two back into defence, and it'll be a much more difficult job for teams to get a goal on them. So as it was a 6-4 victory for the D-side Dragons, out shooting the Warriors 42-31. And like I said, they got themselves 4-1 up, and there was kind of no looking back from there. Gary Simpson, Jared Dickinson, Jacob Hayek, Charles Phillips, Jacob Hayek with another, and then Jacob Hayek getting his hat-trick goal as well. For the Warriors, it's been the absolute impressive Carl Ross this year. I've seen him in pre-season. A fantastic hockey player. Seems to be the name that creeps up every week for the Warriors from the fans on the scoreboard. And it was him who gets a couple of goals on the night. Also on the score sheet for the Warriors is Dean Holland and Callum Queenan. So not really a lot to report from that game. I thought it might have been a lot more physical or a bit more feisty, but it just wasn't to be. Just quickly looking through the penalties. 4 penalties picked up by D-side. 6 penalties picked up from Whitley Warriors. Nothing untoward in what was called. The Dragons, who are absolutely surging right now, and why wouldn't they be? They have Jake Witkowski in their roster. I mean, they can even have an off night and they know if he just turns up, they'll still win the game. So it'll certainly be very interested to see how they go when they get a run of fixtures against the top 3-4 teams on the bounce, if that actually does happen. It's certainly interesting. But yeah, teams need to find a way to slow down their offense, just like they've got to find a way of slowing the Stars' offense down. Thankfully for the Stars, it is over 3 lines. At the moment, looking at D-side, they've gone 1 line heavy, and they've gone very heavy with Jake Witkowski, Jacob Hayek and Ross Kennedy all on the top line. So it'll be interesting to see if they try and split some of that scoring down when they play some of the other teams. say, the Billingham Stars or the Blackburn Hawks, but it'll certainly be very, very interesting. So we'll move into Sunday, and we'll start with the home-and-home series between the Dragons and the Warriors. And it was a much more comfortable night for Deeside Dragons, who take the game at home 7-2. Within half an hour, the Dragons were 3-0 up through Ross Kennedy, Jared Dickinson getting 2. Adam Wood does pull one back for the Warriors before Jacob Hayek gets himself on the score sheet. At the 51-55 minute mark, Callum Queenan makes it 4-2 before Jacob Witkowski gets his 13th goal of the season to make it 5-2. And then it's Mike Clancy getting his first of the season, and then Jacob Hayek with just a couple seconds left, making it a 7-2 game. Quite a few points for the Dragons' two star men in Jacob Hayek and Jake Witkowski. Ross Kennedy racking up the assists already this year as well, currently with 25 assists. Obviously at the moment very easy for Ross just to give the puck to Jake or to Jacob, and obviously they are finding the net. Bit more physical game this one, a lot more penalty minutes. I think Adam Wood had himself a bit of a night, shock horror. I think he takes a penalty of interference. Then at the 50 minute mark, he takes a boarding, a roughing and a misconduct call. Obviously got himself into a bit of an altercation with Will Harper, who gets himself a roughing and a 10-minute misconduct. So yeah, a 7-2 victory for the Deeside Dragons, who are currently 8-2 at the moment. And those early season wars have certainly been put to bed by the Dragons, and I think they had a really bad weekend, didn't they, where they went to Billingham on a Saturday and played the Hawks on Sunday. Probably no two worse teams, two teams that you're fighting the championship for. To lose out to them early on when you're not at full strength could end up costing the Dragons in the league. But I'm sure they've probably got their eyes on the Cup and especially the playoffs as well. Next, we will head over to the Solihull Barons, just a one-game weekend for them. Unfortunately, it's a double header for the Sheffield Scimitars, who played the Hawks the previous night. They head to Hobbs Moat Road, where they lose 7-2. Outshot 48-26, obviously in favour of the Barons. And I think it was just a run-of-the-mill game for the Barons, just a one-game weekend. All your usual suspects on the score sheet for the Barons. Jacob Race getting 1, Dan Mulcahy getting 1 but 3 assists. Phil Mulcahy 2 goals, 2 assists. Bailey Challenge from defence getting a goal and assist. Charlie Webb getting a goal assist. And Nicholas Otterson 1 goal and 2 assists. For the Scimitars, it's Ben Cutts and Christian Pelling on the score sheet for them, for their 2 goals off their 26 shots that they had. Like I say, a run-of-the-mill game for the Barons. They were never going to lose this one on home ice against the Sheffield Scimitars. The Sheffield Scimitars are just the 1 win and 11 defeats at the moment. Surprisingly, the Solihull Barons, 5 wins, 1 overtime win and 4 losses. Next, we head over to Planet Ice Widnes, where there is currently a lot of rumours on player movement. Probably the club to keep an eye on the most over the next couple of weeks will be the Widnes Wild. Certainly 2 names that are available do seem to be creeping up around this club, so we'll certainly keep an eye on the Widnes Wild socials over the coming weeks. On Sunday night though, they hosted the Hull Jets, and it was the Hull Jets that came out 3-1 winners. Probably a more generous scoreline than most expected. It was Alex Kent who opened the scoring within 5 minutes, but it's Thomas Varastek, who I believe is on two-way from Solway, getting an equaliser, but then Richard Haggart getting the go-ahead goal on the half-hour mark. And then it wasn't really until early in the third period Ethan Daintiff gets his 3rd goal of the season, just to put a bit of daylight between the two clubs. So a 3-1 victory for the Hull Jets, getting back to winning ways after losing the night before. A 3-1 victory over the Widnes Wild, which still means the Widnes Wild unfortunately are still without a win so far this year. But like I say, that was a much closer game than probably most people expected. And with rumours of strengthening the squad over the coming weeks, we may see a much improved Widnes Wild for the remainder of the season. Shots on goal then, you wouldn't be surprised that the Hull Jets do take it 38-28 and a 3-1 victory, taking all 3 points, much needed points, back to Hull after a little rough patch that they've had over the last couple of weeks. So I save this one till last, and I think it's probably for obvious reasons. It is the Billingham Stars home game versus the Nottingham Lions. Most of you will have seen fan videos on various social media outlets or fan pages. Like I say, I won't comment. Well, yeah, I will comment. I will get into detail into it. In fact, I wasn't going to bother, but I think I will. I think a few things need to be said. We'll go through the game itself first of all. Game started quite well, very much in Billingham's favour, but it was still at quite a good pace. Nottingham brought their game with them. Unfortunately, they were missing Ales Padelec, which a huge miss for any team in our division, more so than the Lions. A huge miss for them. But yeah, they came and they brought it. For not getting much through one goal, huge credit has to be played to the Billingham defence. Block shotting, closing down, and like I say, their netminder on the night. What an absolute netminder performance, especially in that first period. They only brought the one netminder, Isaac Ballinger, the only netminder, an absolute unreal first period. He made some saves that he had no right making. Eventually, his will was broken at the 18:51 mark with Connor McNulty getting his 6th goal of the season. Been a great pick-up for the Billingham Stars this year. Connor is fitting straight away, very talented. And has a very bright future in the game of hockey. On to the second period, and then pretty much floodgates opened at this point. Roller Grit in the score and a beautiful backhand top shelf goal. No netminder in this division is stopping that, and probably the division above as well. Just an unbelievable goal. Roland Gritton's going to the net hard and then going back on top shelf. Fantastic finish. Not long after, 10 seconds or so, James Moss adds a third straight away for Billingham. And then Chris Sykes gets his first of 4 goals on the night. His 9th of the season comes at 35-35 to make it 4-0. Seconds later, roughly about 16, 17 seconds later, he gets his 10th of the season to make it the Stars 5-0. Bit of sloppy play from Billingham in their own zone. Ben Greenhow gives up the puck to Neo Thomas, who squeezes one under the pads of Jacob Hammond, and that was that for the end of the second period. A 5-1 game so far, and this is where it all went to shit basically, from Nottingham and from referee Dave Emerson. I'm not sure quite what happened, but something just switched. The hits got higher, the hits got lower, the hits got later. I believe actually in the second period, a Nottingham Lion player called a 2-minute check to the head. Bit of a shit one really, when a check to the head, let's be serious here. It should be 5 minutes no matter what, no matter how hard, no matter where on the ice, no matter how physical, no matter how big, no matter how small. This is a check to the head. This is the crap that they want to get cut. They want to cut out of games. This is the crap that they have heavy penalties for. Yet Dave Emerson saw fit to give a 2-minute check to the head, which for me takes the piss a little. Anyhow, into the third period, like I say, the hits were getting higher, the hits were getting lower on 1 or 2 players. Ian Brown was certainly getting a lot of attention. He took a couple, he received the check to the head, got a couple of high sticks up. I think Billingham's 9th goal, it comes from him being hit high up, and obviously him putting his hands up to defend himself. The Lions player comes off worse. The puck falls loose to James Hellens, who buries it into the back of the net. So anyway, that's just a little bit, like I say, Dave Emerson, for whatever reason, put the whistle away pretty much for the third period. Well, to a certain extent he did. And then, I don't know, I just can't explain his performance. Like, the same things were happening time after time, and they were not getting called both ways, which is the thing that infuriates fans the most. If you call something in the 10th minute, call it again in the 59th minute. It makes no preference of when the incident happens. You just call it the same. That's the way the game kind of works. That's consistency. That's all we ever ask for. If you're consistently bad and you consistently miss things, and it's the same for both teams, no one gives a shit. But if you're missing things but then only calling it one way, that's where it's going to get players backs up, coaches backs up, and fans' backs up. Anyway, in the third period, Ian Brown continues his run of a goal in every game he's played so far this year, scoring his 18th of the season to make it 6-1. 10 minutes later, Chris Sykes scores his hat-trick goal and his 11th of the season, followed 2 minutes later by his 4th of the night and his 12th of the season to make it 8-1 at that point. Not long after, Matthew Bell scrambles one over the line, which at this point the Stars change netminders and put Wakefield in for Hammond. Fortunate to get the deflections that it got on its way in, but it found a way and it was 8-2. And as I mentioned there, James Helens actually getting the 9th goal to make it 9-2 on the night. And that was not before the Billingham had to defend 5 minutes worth of 5-on-3. So that was a very much a welcome to the game. Young Wakefield, let's see how you do here. And to be fair, he stood up to the test. He might be used at points this season where he is going to get tested. So it was a good little challenge for him that he came through. And it was certainly good to see. So, you've heard me mention the shit show in the third period that was going on with the lack of calls and players getting frustrated on both sides. I mean, I think it got to a point with some of the hits going in the third period. Some of the Stars players did start to take the piss a little. Whether it was Ian Brown dangling, diving in. I think he at one point dived in between two players. They collided, both went down. Lions started with the late hits, which I've never seen this sort of performance from the Lions before, so I was quite shocked to see it. But yeah, I think the Stars, the Lions players started then engaging with the crowd, giving the gestures, and I don't know. I don't know whether the scoreline got to them or a couple of the situations in the game got to them. I know there was a bit of beef with Lucas Dowdle. He was getting chopped and roughed up quite a bit by one of the senior players. Ben Greenhouse seemed to have been a target most of the game. Ian Brown was definitely a target for most of the game, but to be fair, Ian's probably going to have to expect that every night in every rink. Every team's going to target him while he's scoring the way he's scoring. And to credit to the Stars at points of the third period, they were taking some of this. They were just doing the damage on the scoreboard and making some of these Lions players look silly and being embarrassed on the ice with just silky skills. And that's what all you have to do sometimes. But for whatever reason, the Lions were still brewing. I don't know. You just saw this coming. And it's very rare that me and my partner are down at rinkside. We were both down there together. We'd been putting supporters club stuff away. And there she was, leaning against the post, against the glass. This is my missus by the handshakes. And she's there with a phone out recording. And I'm like, what are you doing? She goes, this is going to kick off this. And no sooner did she finish her sentence, what happened? Yep, you saw the videos on social media. You've seen it from fan accounts who are out there to get as many likes as they possibly can. Aren't we all? The shit show unravelled. It really, really did. All starting from one player not releasing Ben Greenhouse's hand during the handshake. Yeah, the game's done, lads. Shake hands, walk off. If you've got a problem, you've got another 3 fixtures against each other to sort those problems out. Don't try and be a twat and just hold on to someone's hand during the handshake, because you know it's going to get people's backs up. So obviously, the first senior player on the scene is Chris Sykes. He tries to intervene. He takes a clip on the chin, so that riles him up. He tries to skate around the handshake, trying to get hold of someone. Ben Greenhow then physically pushes a Lions player who had hold of his hand still. Maybe he fancied him, I just don't know. And then all hell broke loose. You got Darren Statsfield. He comes in to get Sykesy away from doing something stupid. Mossy has grabbed hold of the lad that wouldn't let go of Ben Greenhow. All of a sudden, he has 3 players on him. Then Jacob Hammond grabs hold of one of the 3 that's on James Moss. To which point, the lad, whatever, squares up to Jacob Hammond, to which then Darren Statsfield pulls him off, puts him to the ground. He gets back up. While he's getting back up, Alliance players grabbed hold of Tommy Spraggin and dragged him away from the pack and drags him and then wrestles him to the ground. By this point, the lad that Darren Statsfield's put down, he gets back up, he squares up to Darren. Darren puts him back down again. But yeah, just all hell breaks loose for no reason at all. When I say no reason, for no reason of no fault of the referee. He could have nipped all this in the bud. Quite simply, nipped it all in the bud in the third period. Make a couple of calls. Even if they're soft calls, make a couple of calls. Give a couple of misconducts out. Not your 2-minute ones, your 10-minute ones. Just calm the situation down. And I don't care if you think I'm being biased towards Billingham. I'm actually, I can safely say they reacted this time. They did react. Did they overreact? Quite possibly. But the shit they took in the third period, the non-calls, and then the crap in the handshakes, yeah, they finally lost it. And it is what it is. Dops will do their thing. We know what Dops is like. That's a complete shit show, completely not fit for purpose. Because obviously we know what they'll look at. They'll look at the individual incidents. They won't look at the game as a whole. They won't look at crap that Dave Emerson did and didn't call during the game. But yeah, it was crazy to see the benches as well and what their reaction was. Because obviously every player's out on the ice. You have one coach trying, screaming at his players, telling them to just basically get back on the bench, wrap it up. And then you've got the other one just leaning on the bench, just watching what's going on, which tells you everything you need to know about each team and their coach. I know one team's had this sort of thing happen numerous times before with Blackburn, a bit of a shit show with Blackburn, so the team's got a bit of a history. But yeah, what a strange all weekend of NIHL Division 1 action. Two fantastic wins for D-side Dragons, who are starting to put the heat on. The Stars win 2 games again from their double weekend, putting them 10-1 for the season. The Nottingham Lions, this ever-improving Nottingham Lions, are now 4-5. So let's have a little quick look at what the table looks like after the weekend's fixtures. Obviously, I can't go too much more into the Stars Nottingham game because we have to wait for Dops and see what Dops announce. I can imagine big bans all round for many of the players that were involved. You're looking at 5 or 6 players maybe on each team, maybe a little bit less, maybe 3 or 4. No team's going to come out of it well because Dops, well, like I said, not fit for purpose. So what does the current weekend bring us? Well, nothing too spectacular on the Saturday. Who am I kidding? Of course, we've got something spectacular on the Saturday. We actually have the Sheffield Scimitars and the Widnes Wild go head-to-head on Saturday. I think that's a huge game. It'll certainly, if the Scimitars win and pull a little bit further away from the Widnes Wild, I think that pretty much could condemn the Wild to bottom place this year. But if the Wild win, get that first win, and a couple of improvements coming in signing-wise, they may just kick on. But it'll certainly be interesting. Also on a Saturday, the Leeds Knights host the Whitley Warriors. I think another interesting game as well. I'd be interested to see how Whitley travel, because from what I've been noticing, they haven't been travelling too well on a Saturday, and even on a Sunday, not travelling with a full complement of players. And then Sunday is full of huge games. Even the Nottingham Lions hosting the D-side Dragons. Like I say, Nottingham are an awkward team. They're a team with Adles Padalek who can make a difference, just like the Dragons have got Witkowski. But it's obviously a late face-off on a Sunday night. Just what Nottingham like. If they're at full strength, there's certainly going to be a thorn in the side of D-side Dragons. But let's not forget the Dragons are flying right now. And I was fancying an upset when I first saw this fixture a day or so ago, but no, I think it is going to be a D-side Dragons win. There's just no way Jake Witkowski lets that team lose. Also on the Sunday, we have the Whitley Warriors at home to the Solihull Barons. I actually think that's a huge game as well. Obviously, the Warriors start to see them very, very well. A couple of losses the last few weeks. The Barons obviously losing a lot more than what their fans would expect. I think the fans had expected them to be challenging this year, but certainly a huge game nonetheless. The Billingham Stars, well, they could be the Billingham Juniors, depending on how Dops goes this week, and they face a Widnes Wild, who will take a lot of confidence from their game on Sunday, and if they can add their additions in time, they could just well spring a surprise in the division. And then the big game of the weekend, I think this is a huge game. The Blackburn Hawks have been scoring goals for fun lately, but the Hull Jets seems to have turned their home form from last season into their away form. They've got a couple of big road wins already this year, so it'll be certainly interesting to see how Zach Brown goes up against the firepower of the Blackburn Hawks, who've scored an absolute boatload of goals the last couple of weekends. So yeah, that's it for the coming weekend. What I'll do now is I will just quickly run through the results and the coming weekend's fixtures, and then we'll move on to see what's going on in Division 2. Oh, and I'll quickly go over the league tables because obviously the cup tables are now starting to look a bit more like a table. So Saturday the 26th of October, we had Sheffield Scimitars hosting the Blackburn Hawks, who take the victory 12-2. Hull Jets hosted the Billingham Stars, looking for payback after a heavy defeat just 3 weeks ago, but it was a dominant Billingham Stars who keep that train ploughing along the tracks, taking a 4-1 victory. And it's the Deeside Dragons who make a statement weekend, beating the Warriors twice over the weekend. On Saturday, it was a 6-4 victory at the Hillheads Arena, and then into Sunday at Deeside, a 7-2 win for the Horse. Billingham Stars win on home ice against the Nottingham Lions after a shit show in the Handshake, taking the game 9-2. The Barons have an easy win and an easy night against the Sheffield Scimitars, taking that 7-2. And it was the Hull Jets looking to get back to winning ways. After a loss the previous night to the Billingham Stars, they went to Widnes Wild, and it was Widnes Wild who put in a hell of a shift, but it just wasn't meant to be. And it's a 3-1 win for the Hull Jets. And there, right at the bottom, is a fixture that I knew I'd miss out. The Blackburn Hawks hosted the Leeds Knights also on Sunday, taking the game 4-0, with Aaron Davies scoring 2, Riddick and Mayo also on the score sheet. So how does our Borley Conference look as of today? Fixtures are all a bit shit at the minute. Teams have played 10, 11, 9, 12 games, but we'll quickly run through tables. It is the defending champions, the Billingham Stars, who top the table with 11 games played, 10 wins, 1 loss for their 30 points. Second place is the Deeside Dragons, just the 10 games played, 8 wins, 2 losses for 24 points. Hull Jets in third, 11 games played, 7 wins, an overtime win, and 3 losses for 23 points. In fourth is Blackburn Hawks, 11 games played, 7 wins, 4 losses, 21 points. Fifth place is the Solihull Barons, 10 games played, 5 wins, an overtime win, and 4 losses for 17 points. Whitley Warriors are 9 games played, 5 wins, 1 overtime loss, and 3 regulation losses for 16 points. Seventh place is the Nottingham Lions, in 9 games played, 4 wins, 5 losses for 12 points. Leeds Knights in 8th. 10 games played, 2 wins, an overtime loss, 7 losses for 7 points. 9th is Sheffield Scimitars, 12 games played, 1 win, 11 losses for 3 points. And it is the Widnes Wild who prop us all up with the 9 games played and 0 points. Cup standings then, as it is, after their 2 big wins over Group A rival, the Whitley Warriors, it's the Deeside Dragons who top the table with 6 games played, 5 wins, 1 loss, 15 points. It's Billingham Stars in second, 4 games played, 4 wins, 12 points. Whitley Warriors in third, 5 games played, 3 wins, 2 losses, 9 points. Nottingham Lions, 5 games played, 2 wins, 6 points. Sheffield Scimitars, 8 games played, 0 points. So it's looking like at the moment, if I was a betting man, it would be the Deeside Dragons and the Billingham Stars who are going to be the top 2 in Group A. And for Group B, it's currently the Hull Jets, top of their division, with 5 from 5 and 15 points. The Blackburn Hawks 4 from 4 for 12 points. The Barons have played 5, 2 wins, 1 overtime win, 2 losses and 8 points. The Leeds Knights, 8 games, 2 wins, overtime loss, 5 losses and 7 points. And the Widnes Wild, 6 games played and 0 points. Again, a better man, it will be looking like the Hull Jets and the Blackburn Hawks. And as it stands right now, our semi-finals would look like Deeside Dragons versus the Blackburn Hawks and the Billingham Stars versus the Hull Jets. 2 great semi-finals. So that is it for North 1. Let's have a quick little look over into Saturday and the Laidler Conference. Not many games to go at, just the 5 in total played at the weekend. One absolute bonkers game, which, hey-ho. Saturday the 26th of October in the Laidler division, we had the Sutton Sting host the Kingston Sharks, and the Sutton Sting maintain that 100% record and take the game 5-2. Also with a 100% record maintained, the Telford Tigers hosted the Deeside Ducks, and I don't even think Coach Bombay, Adam Banks or Charlie Conway can get them out of this one. It was a 24-4 victory for the Tigers. Also on the Saturday, it was the Coventry Blaze hosting the Altrincham Aces, and it was a close affair with the Altrincham Aces taking the game 2-1. Moving into Sunday, the Sheffield Titans lose out to the Kingston Sharks 8-1 on home ice, and Lions 2 hosted the Bradford Bulldogs, and it's the visitors that take the game 7-4. I don't know what to say about this Tigers-Ducks game. I mean, if that's running the score up, it's pretty bullshit, really. It's not required. They're a new team, they're a young team, they're learning the way. By all means, you don't take it easy on them. There's taking it easy and then there's running the score up. I won't go too into it, because like I say, I wasn't there, so I don't know. But I can't imagine 24 goals were just casually scored. I think, personally, from my point of view, it looks like the Tigers saw an opportunity to run the score up and they took it. But I hope the D-side Ducks dust themselves off and get themselves ready for some more hockey this coming weekend. So after the weekend's games in the Ladler, how are we looking? Well, as I said, it's the Sutton Sting and the Telford Tigers, who are both have 100% records. It's a Sting that have played more games, so are currently top with 30 points. Telford second with 24 points. A gameless weekend. I think that's 2 gameless weekends in a row now for the Buccaneers. The Buccaneers of Billingham are 7 games played, 5 wins, 2 losses for their 15 points. So as you can see already, a ginormous gap is already built between the Sutton Sting and the Telford Tigers. Maybe them two need to step up. I don't know. How big is their gulf? How big is the gulf between the top of Ladler to the bottom of Morley? Could the Sutton Sting and the Telford Tigers live with the current Widnes, Sheffield Skims and Leeds sides? Certainly interesting. It's a shame there isn't some sort of cup for them to play in, like a bottom of Morley and top of Ladler. Hey ho, probably not enough time or space for those sort of fixtures. Anyway, back onto the league table. There's the Coventry Blaze in 4th with 12 points after 6 games played. Altrincham Aces in 5th with 9 games played and 12 points. Just below them is the Kingston Sharks with 9 games played and 11 points. Sheffield Titans also 9 games played but 7 points. Bradford Bulldogs in 8th on 7 games played and 6 points. 9th is the Nottingham Lions, NIHL 2. Probably been a long time since they were bottom. 10 games played and 3 points. And the league newcomers, the D-side Ducks, 7 games played and 3 points. So what's the fixtures like for the Ladler this weekend? Let me scroll down to the bottom. While I'm scrolling, just another huge thanks to Joe Scutts and all the work and effort he goes into with the website, the NIHL Stats website. It's fantastic. The game sheets are fantastic. I get to see in detail who's doing what. Usually all up to date by a Sunday night, the league tables, and then all the player stats usually completed by a Tuesday. Just fantastic and incredible work by him. So a big huge thank you to Joe and all the work he does for guys like me. Anyway, what is coming this weekend in the Ladler Conference? This weekend will be Saturday the 2nd of November already. Jesus Christ. Anyway, it's the Kingston Sharks hosting the Altrincham Aces. The Nottingham Lions host the Billingham Buccaneers. Sutton Sting host the Coventry Blaze. That'll be a brilliant game. And the final game of the weekend is the Sheffield Titans and the Bradford Bulldogs. On Saturday, there's 3 early fixtures. Kingston are hosting the Aces at 12 o'clock. The Lions are hosting the Buccaneers at 1 p.m. The Sutton Sting have got the Coventry Blaze at 1:40. And then late in the evening, the Titans host the Bulldogs at 7:40. Moving into the Sunday, the Sutton Sting host Kingston Sharks, so 2 home games for them. The Bradford Bulldogs welcome the Ducks, and it's Telford Tigers who host the Coventry Blaze. So some good fixtures there to keep an eye on over the weekend in the Ladler Conference as well. So that pretty much covers the weekend's action. I was going to say save stuff for the end, but I just went through them at the time. Like I say, keep an eye on the Widnes Wild socials over the next week or 2. They may have a new player or 2 to announce. Keep an eye on DOPS. I know they don't publicly release them now. They just put it on the website. Don't tell you it's there and you've got to go and find it. Because I think everyone will be interested to see how punished the Stars and the Lions will be. Obviously, D-side and Blackburn and Solihull, Whitley will all be rubbing their hands, hoping some big players get big bans from Billingham just to give those guys a chance at winning the league. So keep your eyes out for that. And there's nothing really else to go on. NHL's well and truly started. How's your team getting on? Get in touch, let me know. But yeah, thank you guys for listening. If there's anything you want me to cover, anything you want to talk about, if you've got any news or any gossip that would be of any interest, please do get in touch. Whether it's Facebook, whether it's Twitter, whether it's the email address, sticktothepod@gmail.com. Get in touch, drop by, say hello. If you see me at Stars games, come along and say hello. Yeah, that is it for this week. The weeks are flying by now. The action is hotting up every week as we speak. Like I say, we're 9 weeks into the season? 8 or 9 weeks into the season? Is it that much? We're 11 games in, and it's just absolute madness nearly every weekend now. There's action in every game, there's upsets in every game, and every weekend. Yeah, enjoy your hockey. If you're travelling this weekend, stay safe. Don't forget to like, subscribe, all that stuff, and I'll see you all again next week. Bye for now.